I'm Bill Moomaw. I'm a professor at Tufts University in the United States, just near Boston. I am a professor of international environmental policy and the director of the Center for International Environmental Policy at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. My background is in physical chemistry, and I've gotten very interested in the interaction between the processes by which we try to address the manifold problems that we have and the science and technology that we need to understand to make good policies. And I'm struck by the fact that we've made so little progress on the climate issue. And my thesis is that, my hypothesis is that we're negotiating the wrong kind of treaty. We're negotiating a pollution treaty, which basically tells people what they cannot do, rather than a treaty that might help them do what they do want to do, which is to develop. And the whole question of development is a really interesting one because there's a belief, particularly in the developing world, but also in industrial developed countries as well, that emissions are the equivalent of development. If you have more emissions, you're more developed. And of course, if you look among the developed countries, there's a huge range in the amount of emissions for the amount of economic development they have. And this goes back to a concept from 35 years ago that people don't really want emissions. They don't even want energy. What they want are the services that energy can supply. So my suggestion is that we not worry so much about growth and about emissions and instead go back to basics and say, what are the energy services that are needed? Cooking, lighting, building comfort, mobility, industrial processing, and so forth. And then ask the question, how can I provide those with the least amount of environmental damage, the least amount of energy, the least amount of carbon dioxide emissions, global warming, and all the rest? And so I would propose that we change the treaty negotiations to one of a development treaty, where the goal is to provide energy services to everyone in the world to meet their needs in a manner that does not destroy the climate system or degrade the environment. We don't need more oil in the Gulf of Mexico. We don't need more dead miners in coal mines. And we don't need more wars in the Middle East to retain access to oil. We don't need the disruptions that volatile oil markets cause to both developed and developing countries. And I think we can have the development we need in both developed and developing countries if we get back to basics and focus on services.